Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Abundology podcast. It is my favorite time of year. I get to talk to one of my favorite people, the astrologer Deborah Norton. Deborah's been my personal astrologer for about a decade now. And quarterly, we get together and talk about what to expect for that quarter. But at the end of the year, we talk about what to expect for the whole entire next year. So I'm super excited to hear what's in store with the planets for 2024. So welcome, Deb. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I love being here. I love chatting with you.
I know we always have so much fun talking. So
Yes.
yeah. So what do we have in store this year? What's in the stars?
Literally, right? So I would call my overall assessment of 2024 astrologically is it's not a super active year, astrologically speaking. There's a few key things that are happening that are big, but it's there's not a ton of them. So I think it's an opportunity for us to take full advantage of the things that are happening and use them to our benefit.
Well, that's nice because this year that we're ending had quite a bit of stuff happening.
It's
Quite a bit of
busy
shifting
year.
and that retrograde summer and all of that. So
Yes.
I have to say, I'm happy to hear that this year isn't packed.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it starts off with a huge shift. Going in, now we're in Mercury retrograde right now. So maybe not so by the time this airs.
It will still be, by the time this airs, it'll still be in retrograde.
Okay. Yeah. So Mercury goes direct right at the beginning of the year. So I'm glad that it's the downside of having it retrograde during the holidays is travel can get all messed up. And so I'm really hoping for a nice trip myself down to LA and for all other people traveling that it's not too chaotic and that maybe these airlines have upgraded their software by now. Who knows? But that's the kind of stuff that goes to hell with the Mercury retrograde. So as far as your holiday plans, make sure you check everything twice. And be sure that you haven't forgotten something, miscommunicated. What's nice is that a lot of us have time off from our jobs during the holidays. So we don't have to worry about like work snafus, but you might get into some misunderstandings or miscommunications with family. And that would be a bummer unless you can keep yourself together and talk it out. And maybe it could be a good conversation, but just keep in mind that there's a lot of miscommunication going on. And so just always be aware of that in Mercury retrograde. And then right as we get into January, around January 21st, we have a big event, which is Pluto is now moving into Aquarius again for the second time. So we had a little bit of a dip last year, just I think from March to May. And then this year Pluto enters Aquarius on the same day that the sun enters its next sign. So that's the sun enters Aquarius with Pluto. So it's like the sun is ushering Pluto in lighting the path for Pluto to, saunter off into Aquarius land, which I like that. I think that's a nice little entry point for Pluto, even though Pluto is dark and creepy. The sun is actually just like lighting the path. So that's interesting. We will spend a good portion of the year with Pluto in Aquarius. We will, though, have one more retrograde back to Capricorn, and I'll mention that when that's going to happen later in the year. But it's pretty exciting for Pluto to change signs. I'm sure I talked about this last year as well, but it's here it is. It's really happening for realsy now, and so I just want to touch on some of those points that we probably made last year about this. The reason astrologers get excited about planets like Pluto changing signs is because it only happens for Pluto every 2 decades. So it's just a really long stretch. So when you evaluate astrological events and you lay them over world events and history, that's where you can really start to see the influence of these outer planets on the collective as a whole and how we move and change and transform as a society from one sign to another. So at this point, I invite everyone to think back to 2008, around that time. That's when Pluto moved into Capricorn. Now imagine everything has changed for you personally and for the world. And that's, there's been a lot of change. And so that, it allows us to look back and say, okay, where was Pluto's influence there? And certainly all of the destruction that we experienced as a collective, all of, the shift in mentality around the haves and the have-nots. We saw the beginning of the 99% and all of that stuff happen during Pluto in Capricorn, as well as, banking failures and, but also the rise of new currencies and, cryptocurrencies and all of that. Like, things have changed. And so with Pluto going into Aquarius, it's exciting because Aquarius, to me, is very exciting. I think it's the most exciting sign. It is ruled by Uranus, which is the most exciting planet. And so Aquarius is really the sign of the genius. And so Pluto there is Pluto transforms, it digs up from underneath, like what's old and stale and we don't need anymore, in order for us to like build something new. And so at this point, I feel like it's like all systems go on technological advances. I think we're going to see breakthroughs, inventions, like stuff we can't even imagine sitting here now. And even if you think back, like we couldn't have conceptualized AI back in 2008, right? Well, now we've got Aquarius in the mix, and we've got, Pluto will be in Aquarius until 2044.
Wow.
So for some people, that's all she wrote. Like,
right.
That's it. I don't, we'll probably make it through, but probably not through the next sign. But, so it's just exciting. This huge, slow moving, intense energy is shifting. So it's exciting to see what's going to happen. It's hard to predict it because it's Aquarius, and Aquarius is the wild card. So it's really hard to sort of predict like what might happen, but we can look back to when it happened before and see what was happening then. So that was in 1777 to 1797. So that was a period where we had both the French and American revolutions.
Yeah.
So that kind of change, like that changed the maps of the world. Like that changed
literally.
Yeah. So, Uranus is the planet of change. Again, that's the ruler of Aquarius. Aquarius, what's, pretty exciting about it is hopefully all of us will have like an intellectual leap with all of this. Or maybe it's better to say, we'll discover a new layer of intellectual depth within ourselves, because that's the deepness of Pluto. But it's definitely going to be in the realm of Aquarius, which is thoughts and inventions and moments of genius and brilliance and epiphanies and breakthroughs. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm really ready for it to be out of Capricorn. Some people, when we were looking, and experiencing Pluto and Capricorn for all these years, we've been like, let's get rid of all the systems that are old and archaic and patriarchal and hierarchical. I hoped we would have been more past all that by now, but we did shake shit up. Things like, the idea that there's any other way to organize, yourself except in a hierarchy was a totally foreign concept. Now we kind of are starting to understand that there is another way to organize ourselves. We don't have to have power over anymore. And so that's, to me, what I think we can all admit, that as we are ending this time, that's a big shift. All of us personally maybe never even thought of another way before Pluto and Capricorn. And so now that Pluto's in Aquarius, all of that has been broken down, right? So it's all in pieces on the ground now, and saying, okay, now we get to create something new and start trying shit out. Aquarius rules science. It's all about experimentation. And so now we get to start experimenting with all the broken pieces. And we want to rearrange all those pieces into a structure that will support the entire collective. Because Aquarius is about all of us. And that's why the hippies sing about the age of Aquarius, because it's about the collective. There's no me in Aquarius, because it's all about us. Aquarius.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Also, if we're thinking about all of the innovations in medical stuff, if we're talking science, all of the DNA discoveries and cancer and all of that, that's exciting too.
Honestly, I would almost expect us to see lots of illnesses cured during this time.
I love it.
I think that new and younger scientists that work in medicine are probably going to stop wanting to keep people on drugs.
Yes.
They're going to want to start getting us cured. Now, granted, that's all tied up in our broken medical system. So let's hope that if anything that's lying in pieces on the ground gets reorganized for the benefit of all, that it be our medical system in the US. That would be huge.
Yes,
it would. It's practically useless. It's like something you can't think about too much because it would piss you off so much. That's how we all feel about it. And so let's hope that that's a big one that will get restructured, reorganized, and in a way that is, better for all of us. All right, so that's right off the bat in January. So then next event is in March, and that's a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo.
Okay.
So remember that lunar eclipses are about culminations and endings. So lunar eclipse is always a good time to let shit go. So it's never a bad idea to do some kind of banishing ritual for yourself, whatever that looks like. Sorry.
It's okay.
So some of the easiest ways to banish something is to write something on a piece of paper and burn it, or even put it in the freezer. So just little simple things. It's in Virgo. So that is an earth sign ruled by Mercury. And so with Virgo is all about perfection. And so there might be ways that we're in the grip of perfectionism that we might want to be able to let go of a little, like allow things to be a little messy. Virgo is like shudder at the thought, but it's okay to be messy. Messy sometimes is the origin of genius. Because if everything's too in order all the time, then it's never original. It's the same every time. How do you grow? How do you learn? How do you expand? I've been thinking a lot about chaos because I'm so obsessed with Aries. And even though I'm not going to talk a lot about Aries today, one thing I do want to mention, just because we're on the topic, is, without a little chaos and a little mess in your life, you don't ever move and grow. And you certainly don't make leaps. What's so interesting about chaos is that it doesn't allow us to overthink. When chaos happens, we act. We're on instinct and we're on intuition. When everything's falling apart, you're like, okay, you got to really rely on yourself to make quick decisions that, sometimes these decisions could change the course of your life forever if your life is in real chaos. So when life is in chaos, it allows a whole part of us to open up and be problem solving in a way that we may not invite otherwise, because it's all routine. We know what goes next. It's all in order. It's all what we expect. Well, something happens that we don't expect. And that is the room. That's where genius grows. That's where it lives. So this is something I'm going to be working with all year, is to just allow things to be a little messy. We are messy as humans. So, this
Well,
new
and we hear that like Einstein, you know, how incredibly
yeah,
messy that he lived and how he was, you know,
there's
makes
genius
sense.
in the mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so with this new moon, sorry, full moon, lunar eclipse in Virgo, that might be a time to sort of start embracing this concept and opening yourself up to the possibility that a little mess can actually make magic in your life.
Hmm.
So, okay. So then we have next in April, Mercury retrograde in Aries. There's 2 Mercury retrogrades in fire signs this year. The only reason that's notable is because it can get explosive when wires get crossed. So with the Mercury retrograde in April, it's a more of a time than ever to kind of like keep your thoughts to yourself, keep the stuff, keep working on your inner journey. That's what Mercury retrograde is for, because Aries is explosive. And so you don't want to invite that into your misunderstanding, because you throw that into a misunderstanding and now you're in a fight, right? So it's just something to be mindful of. And then immediately after that, we have the new moon solar eclipse, which is the flip side of the lunar eclipse, in that it's all about new beginnings. And it's in Pisces. So it's a water sign. It's really sensitive. It's really illusory. It's weightless and boundaryless. So new beginnings, anything that you might spring out of your imagination could be a nice way to celebrate, this eclipse. All right. So then we got the big event of the year on April 21st, which is Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus. So the reason this is a big deal is because Uranus is like Pluto. It's extremely slow. It moves at a snail's pace, and Jupiter moves around the entire wheel stays in one sign for a year. Okay, so there's not a big opportunity for the two to be conjunct. It happens every 14 years.
Okay.
So this is sort of the big event of 2024 astrologically. So the last time that we had this conjunction, it was in Aries, and it was in 2011. Okay. This is a few of the things. Now, when we think Jupiter, we think big, expansive, benevolent, excess. It's good stuff, but sometimes excess isn't good. Right. So there's 2 sides to Jupiter. I like to talk about Jupiter as, Santa Claus, but it also can be too much, right? So that's the thing to keep in mind with Jupiter. With Uranus, as I said earlier, it's all about brand new ideas. But when transits of Uranus sort of hit sensitive areas, we sometimes see, global shifts and global events that shift everything. And so the last time in 2011, these are the big things that happened that year, was Fukushima. That shifted the world.
Yeah.
There were unbelievable blizzards and thunderstorms that killed people like more than usual. There were also tornadoes that year that were it was just the world weather just kind of went nuts in 2011. Then we had one of the biggest WikiLeaks breaks. So that's a Uranus thing. WikiLeaks is all Uranus. It's all about shocking everyone, and putting something out there that can really like alter other people's lives in like severe ways, and sort of, that it's that moment of what the hell happened? Like what happened? That's Uranus. We also had the Arab Spring, which was
Yes.
massive. And we had the death of Osama bin Laden. And then we rolled right into Occupy Wall Street. That
Yeah,
was a big
that was
year.
big. I was just going to say that was a big year.
So I think that bigness is the Jupiter, and the Uranus is the what? So you put big and what together and you got what?
Well, in Taurus too, did you say it was in Taurus?
Yes.
With that, I would assume that would be more earthy things happening then too.
Well, yeah. I mean, the alarming part of it is that, last time there was all these natural disasters. Well, this time it's in Taurus, which, is the sign of the earth and earthiness, right?
Right.
So who knows? Taurus also rules money. So I feel like there will be major shifts in the financial sector and maybe new ways of banking. So some sort of radical overhaul of our banking system. There might be brand new financial technologies, advancements in digital currency and blockchain, like that is already off to the races. It might just explode. There's also been a major advancements in environmental technology and sustainable practices. So that's where the Earth might benefit from this, because there could be new ideas and new inventions around that science on how to repair the planet. There's also, with this energy, a balance between personal freedom, Uranus, and material security, which is Taurus. And there will hopefully be a prompting of collective efforts to build our world into a place that values the common good. So we can all hope for that because we share this earth. And I don't know, by 2044, as I was saying earlier, who knows what state the actual planet will be in.
Right. Especially at the rate we're going. Holy shit. Yeah.
So let's hope that this conjunction of those two powerful energies will actually like kickstart us and into even more technology and solutions for our dying planet. So that's going to be something to sort of observe, I think, for everyone. It can be fun to be aware of it and then kind of watch what's going to happen. It can really be shocking sometimes when stuff lands so on the nose. And it does seem to happen. I've noticed, like, if you pay attention to a transit and then you pay attention to that day, and then you look around the next day, it's like, whoa. So this is definitely one of those to watch especially because of the nature of the transit. All right. So then we get into May, and then Pluto, that has just moved into Aquarius, starts to move back into Capricorn already. That'll take a minute for it to get back to Capricorn. It doesn't re-enter Capricorn until September. So it doesn't re-enter Aquarius until November. But then once it re-enters Aquarius in November, then it's goodbye Capricorn. So it's going to take the whole year to get Pluto firmly planted in Aquarius. Okay, so then in May, another big-ish event is that Jupiter is also changing signs this year. So it's a whole year that Jupiter's in one sign. So it's not as monumental as Pluto, but it's still interesting because Pluto really affects us all in what it sort of puts a focus somewhere. So Jupiter in Gemini, it's actually in its detriment in Gemini, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, the opposite sign from Gemini. And the reason Jupiter rules Sagittarius is because Sagittarius says the bigger, the better. Like, so think of Sagittarius as like an entire, novel, or even a series of novels. 12 novels are huge, or Harry Potter, like some massive story, right? That's what Sagittarius loves. And then it loves to look at the big themes and the big, philosophy. It loves that big stuff. Gemini's the opposite. So where Sagittarius is a novel, Gemini is like texting. Quick, it's fast, it gets to the point, it doesn't go on, and then next. So it's quick. Do it, next. And so Jupiter's like, whoa, it's this big thing. And it's like, whoa, what? It's way too fast for me, So that can create, we'll see what that creates, but it's definitely not at its most comfortable. And so, but it definitely is going to make all the Gemini stuff that much bigger. So that's all about communication. I've always said that Gemini rules social media and the internet. So maybe we'll see something over the next year, some big shift in our social media. Maybe there'll be something new, maybe just something radically different, but that's kind of where I'm looking. We also might be feeling within ourselves a need to communicate more and a need to connect more. So it might, whereas Jupiter in Taurus was great for this, it kind of fit the mood of the pandemic, because it's like, I'm gonna stay home. Taurus loves to stay home. Ask me, I've got a Taurus moon. Like, I love to stay home. I love to stay comfortable. I love to stay in my slippers. Gemini, Gemini is very different. Gemini is like, go out, have fun, meet lots of people, go lots of places, have lots of chats. It's quick like that. And so I feel like maybe we'll start to feel a need to even get out more, that we're all still, I think, struggling from the pandemic, and that it broke down all of our social circles and we're still just rebuilding them. Well, I feel like this year with Jupiter in Gemini, it's going to give that all another push. And so you might find yourself craving more social interaction. And if you do, then I hope that you do that, because more connection between humans is a great thing.
And I have seen that a lot talking with my clients. That's a theme that's come up. Like, I want more connection. I'm a little lonely, Yes.
I've seen that happen too. Yeah. I just had a few readings recently where it was a lot about like, well, I lost all of that. My social life went poof, And so I think that we've gotten used to it too. And so I think so it's coming around at just the right time, where we're going to be like, let's go out.
Isn't everything always at the right time though, Deb? It just kind of, especially when we look at astrology, it's like, this is perfect. It just happened like this. Yeah. I have to say, I personally am excited because, of course, Gemini Sun, Gemini Moon, and I turned 60. So I'm happy. And I love Jupiter, my favorite planet.
So you have to have a big party. That's what Jupiter wants.
You're right. I need to go big on this one.
Big on this birthday, if you can. Because that would be a perfect way to celebrate yourself and, the fact that this, big bundle of hope and faith and abundance is now in your sign. So yeah. So you use that, all you Geminis out there, this is a year to grow. It's a year to grow. Don't stop yourself from that. If you feel it, grow it.
I love that.
Okay, so then in July, we have Jupiter conjunct the North Node. So that's exciting because the North Node is destiny. And the North Node is kind of the reason you're here, your soul anyway, like what it really wants to do. And with Jupiter there again, it's going to get bigger, right? So some of us might find that opportunities appear that get us sort of on the right path that we've been waiting for. So you kind of know you want something, it's over there. You don't know how to get from here to there. You can see it, but where's the pathway? Where's that opportunity? That could easily show up, sometime in July. And it'd be like, oh, that's how I get there. So it's all about like allowing Jupiter to sort of point you toward your destiny. So if your thoughts are too much in the here and now and the day-to-day grind of life, this might help all of us kind of expand a little bit and look up and wonder like what the bigger story is for ourselves, and want to feel more connected to that life journey and that life path. So highly encourage everyone to learn about their North Node, because, this doesn't happen frequently where Jupiter conjuncts, because, they move at various different, I think it takes 18 months for the nodes and it takes a year for Jupiter. So the chances of them coming conjunct is not super common. So why not like make the most of it? So think of July as like the summer of the summer of destiny in a sense.
I
And
have to say, I love this because in numerology, it's an 8 year,
oh,
which is an abundance year, and like really finding your thing, and
yeah,
so
well,
that
that's
lines up
exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah.
exactly. It's perfect.
And what's really cool is you can use the Jupiter in Gemini, that comes first, because something I neglected to say about that is Gemini rules curiosity. So Jupiter there is going to make us all extremely curious. And we're all going to be Googling and trying to figure shit out. And so that could open up a window to your destiny out through curiosity.
Yeah.
If you're curious, follow the thread, because
Yeah.
by July, that thread is going to lead you to your destiny.
Oh my God. I also know this is going to be a super busy time for me because people come like, what is my purpose? What? So if there's
Yeah.
curious and what is my purpose?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm setting that up for that to be a busy time of business for
Yeah.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally I couldn't live without curiosity. I love it. I love that we have the internet at our fingertips. Anything we're curious about, we just look it up. Like that's just so insane when you're a Gen Xer and you grew up without it. Like we didn't know anything. Now,
Well, my mom and I were talking, and we used to come up with these questions like, like you ask now to Google, hey, Google, what's
yeah,
this? And we would write them all down. And then we would go to the library like once a
yeah.
week when we checked out our books, and we would look up the answers in the encyclopedia or whatever. It just seems so old fashioned.
I think that it's nearly impossible for people who grew up with the internet to possibly comprehend life before it. We
Yeah.
were all walking around with knowing nothing but what other people told us.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we ever had is what that particular teacher taught us. And then, if we got really curious, then we could get a book on the topic. And, but as far as like getting the answer that you want, that's all sad, getting the book on it, that's super Sagittarius. It's a long story. I just want to know, like, what year did this happen? Or, more about this person that I find fascinating, that what if there was no biography written on someone? There was no Wikipedia to go figure out, just the little day-to-day things that we're curious about and we want to know. Like imagine how much more knowledge our brains are holding now than they were when we were growing up.
It's
Like
so true.
it's such a crazy thought. I feel like as different as a life is before and after the telephone, as before and after the internet or TV, and then as before and after the internet, by the 2040s, something else, which we can't even imagine.
No.
Could be space travel. I don't know. Lots of people think that Pluto and Aquarius is going to bring aliens, so we'll see. All right. So, along other little buzz phrases for Jupiter conjunct the North Node, fateful encounters or events. So, let fate be your guide. Expanding your beliefs, opening your mind to new ways and thinking and new ways of doing things. And then it's also kind of just a confidence boost, especially if you already are somewhat on your North Node path, then you're probably just going to get a little push. So that's why with this happening this summer, that's why I think this year, if you don't know about your North Node, do that work, learn about your North Node. That way, by the time this comes around, you'll know a lot more. And just to be clear, like the North Node isn't going to give you specifics about who you're going to be or what you're going to do or what you're going to have. It's just gives you the energy, and the energy of the sign of your North Node. That's the vibe that you want to be in. It may be something you don't understand, because sometimes people have North Nodes in places where they have no other planets, and they're like, I don't know anything about Leo, or I don't, but yet you got to figure it out. That's your fast sidewalk. So get on it. Other people are very lucky that they have planets surrounding their north node, and that gives them a lot of help in understanding the energy. Also, if you have a north node in a sign that you don't understand, think about anybody in your life that is that sun sign and just observe them.
I do that with you, Deb.
I'll give it away. Yeah. With Cancer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where your north node is. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. So then we start in on, oh no, sorry. Then again in August, we have another Mercury retrograde, this time in Virgo. And then we have a Jupiter square Saturn. Now, we're going to have 2 of those this year because of the retrogrades. So Jupiter, benevolence, hope, optimism, faith. Saturn, limits, focus, hard work. Nose to the grindstone, make that money. And Jupiter's like, let's go for an adventure. Let's go on a quest. So the 2 energies of Jupiter and Saturn are like the yin yang polar opposites kind of thing. So when they're in challenge with each other, that can feel frustrating because you may have this big thing you're doing and then roadblock. Okay. Saturn will be like, nope, it's not up to my specifications, and then you have to start over on something that maybe you'd been gaining ground on. So it can be frustrating. You could also be because it's Gemini and Pisces, because Jupiter's in Gemini, Saturn's in Pisces. The Pisces is all about feeling, and the Gemini is all about thinking. So there's going to be some conflict there between how you feel about something and what you think about something. You're going to have to work that out. Now, keep in mind that the process of working that out or working your way around the roadblock, whatever that is going to evolve you. These things don't happen for nothing. These things happen to help us grow. So if you hit a roadblock, understand that that's kind of harkens back to what I was saying about chaos. We hit a roadblock. It may not be chaos on the outside, but we feel chaotic on the inside because you're going in a certain way and traffic's light and you're going to get to your destination on time. And then, the road's closed. You have to think on your feet. You have to figure it out. You can go moan about it and cry and go home. That's fine. There's plenty of things to learn that way. Or you can figure it out, get around it. And in so doing, you'll learn something major about yourself and you'll probably have a few breakthroughs. So I'm not saying we always have to do the hard thing. There are times when it is okay to go home and understand yourself in that way. But if you're trying to evolve and grow and move forward, then when you hit a stumbling block like that, the best thing we can do, and I'm not saying I do this, but the best thing we can do is say, ooh, here's an opportunity to grow. I know everybody wants to punch me in the face right now. Because I've heard other people say that shit and I'm like, shut up.
You heard other people, you heard me. That's my favorite. What's an opportunity? Yay.
This is your language.
It is.
So yeah, it's going to be a little frustrating. So that happens in August, and then it's going to happen again right at the end of the year around Christmas. So we'll touch on these again as we do our quarterlies, but this is just the overview. Okay, so then we have in September, Pluto re-enters Capricorn. So we'll see if that brings anything around back again that we thought we'd gotten rid of. Then we have our full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. That's an ending culmination energy. Pisces is all about, spirituality and sensitivity and compassion. And, there could be some sort of energy in your life that you can't quite reconcile. This would be that time to sort of, go beyond yourself and try to understand things as Pisces kind of floats around us and it's kind of everywhere. It's very dissolved. So try to use that to your benefit if you can. And then October, we've got the new moon solar eclipse in Libra. So that's a different energy. It's not the mutable energy that we've had for the first two eclipses. It's a cardinal energy. Libra is all about compromise and all about finding common ground. Libra prefers to work out solutions rather than experience conflict. So that Libra energy can be really good for anyone who's trying to figure out a way through something that you're at a stalemate. So this solar eclipse could, like, if you're anywhere where you're in a complete stalemate with someone or something, hopefully that eclipse will help you break through and find the common ground. Then in November, we have the re-entry of Pluto to Aquarius. So now that's what I was saying earlier. It's back for good. So that's going to be exciting. We have another Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. And then the final gift of 2024 that we get to end with is Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde happens every 3.5 years, I think. It can be frustrating because all your zip and go kind of dissipates, because it's that energy of, Mars is forward moving. It goes after what it wants. It grabs it. It takes it. Well, retrograde, it's like it loses its fire. It loses its gumption. It just starts to, slide away from you. I have Mars retrograde natally. And there's so many things in this life that I didn't do because I lacked courage.
Really?
So many. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I could write a book on all the lives I could have had if I didn't lack courage. But I struggle with courage because Mars is retrograde, and in Aquarius, in an air sign. It's not even in a fighting sign or a feeling sign. It's in a thinking sign. So when I get pissed, I think about it really hard. And then I think my way out of being courageous about it. So we've got actually Mars retrograde in the opposite sign from where I have Mars, and that is in Leo. So Leo is a fire sign. Leo is super gregarious. It's super up for anything. It loves to be seen. It loves to be known. It loves to be appreciated. It's a very loving sign. So all of that energy kind of going retrograde feels kind of cold. I mean, if you think Leo rules the sun, or, then you can feel like, okay, maybe it might. And that's going to be the holidays. So who knows? I mean, the election still has to happen before we get there.
Yeah, really good point. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but based on what you see with the astrology this year, anything that would give you any hints at all about the election?
Well, I'm forever an optimist.
Me too.
I don't really try to look too much at the negative stuff, especially in astrology, because I'm not trying to scare anyone ever. I don't think that's helpful. I gave a reading the other day and she said, where's the bad stuff? And I was like, is that useful to you? She was like, I think she was a Taurus. And I was like, you're probably pretty stubborn, right? Yeah. Does that get in your way a lot? Yeah. Okay, there's the bad stuff. Let's move on. Because, I'm trying to celebrate the specialness about you in your chart. I'm trying to bring out your superpower and help you figure out your life's course. Yeah, shit happens. And I'll definitely point out oh, that's probably a tough thing to navigate, that square. But mostly I'm going to say it's going to challenge you there. And by challenging you, it's giving you a chance to level up. So squares are like level up moments, So all that being said, well, it's so hard to predict the election. I feel like with the Pluto thing moving on into Aquarius, that looks like the collective may be starting to figure out that we're more powerful than that guy. And so I'm feeling like it's the Gen Zers that are going to surprise everyone, and that maybe people aren't counting on those votes right now. But, there's a lot of them that are going to be voting that didn't vote last time. And the dictator didn't win last time.
Right.
So I just don't think that the numbers are there for Trump. I just don't think they exist. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to do a lot of shenanigans. He's also a Gemini, and Jupiter's going to be in his sign. So who knows what that looks like, he does well, that will not be till December. I was going to say he also is a Leo rising, but that's not till December. So Mars retrograde in Leo could affect him at the end of the year in some way. But I'm hoping the other states get on board and start, kicking him out of the election. I'm sorry this is so biased, but this is just the way I think about politics. I'm definitely biased towards the left, and biased away from Donald Trump, because I think he's gonna, he's bad for everyone. But I think that we can just expect a lot of chaos in politics. I think it's so impossible to know.
Yeah.
How it's not like any other election we've ever had ever.
Yeah.
Every way it's different.
Yeah.
So that Jupiter-Uranus thing, so maybe, that's going to affect us in some way too. And that's going to happen in the spring. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, sorry, I didn't give you much.
No, that's okay though.
I hate doing predictions because it's just like, it could be anything. I don't know. I never would have predicted COVID, and that happened. So, so who knows?
Right. Who knows? So, well, all in all, it sounds like a pretty okay year.
Yeah. I mean, anything with Uranus is exciting. So that's always fun. But yeah, we're just going to have to get through it, and hopefully people are excited about 2024. I'm always excited for a new year, and what that's going to bring. And this year there's definitely some things to look forward to and things to watch out for.
Yeah. Yeah. Always. Yes. So, well, thank you. Thank you always. I always learn so much when we do these. And like I said, Deb has been my personal astrologer for about a decade. You can work with her directly. Her website is deborahnorton.com, and I will put a link in the show notes. You also are doing a podcast now with your sister.
Yeah,
Cosmic Disruption.
Cosmic Disruption is the name of our podcast. It's on all platforms. Our website is cosmicdisruption.com. We always have astrology, but we also talk about weird and fantastic things beyond,
Yeah, I have to say, I love the episode about Taylor Swift.
We did 2 episodes.
I haven't heard the second one yet. I know it's on my list to watch.
Really deep dive on Taylor Swift's chart and everything that as it happened to her in the last decade. We touched a little bit on Travis Kelce too. But that was fun. Wow, what a fascinating person and a fascinating chart. And then we just did another episode on this year and what's coming, and a little bit more on Travis. So yeah, it's fun. Our Taylor Swift episodes are the highest, get the most listeners out of all of them. I am now a baby Swiftie, aka a Taylor tot. Can I tell you something exciting too?
Yeah.
So this summer, when that whole North Node Jupiter thing is happening in July, I will be seeing the Eras Tour in Germany because I couldn't get tickets anywhere else.
Oh my God. Poor you, Deb. Darn it.
So my husband and I were like, yeah, I said, but what if I went somewhere else in Europe? Tickets are less expensive. And then he was like, well, yeah, heck, I want to go travel. And so we spent all day figuring out like the best time and the best show and what we could do around it on the trip. So we're going to go to Amsterdam. We're going to drive 2 hours to the show. We're going to go through the Black Forest, up through Belgium, and then back. So I'm going to have quite the adventure this summer. I'm excited.
Wow. And talk about perfect timing too.
I know.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Taylor Swift, maybe she is my destiny. Who knows?
Well, also, this is the time of year where Deb and I do a package. So you get an hour reading with her, a chart reading for an hour. You get an hour spirit guide channeling or spiritual mentoring with me. So an hour with her, hour with me for only $222. This is like a killer deal. It's one of my most popular packages. I will put a link in the show notes for that also. It's super fun.
Yeah,
Because often I don't these yeah, go
we're already
ahead.
a few in, to the sale. Like we've already started doing the reading. Like, man, it gets so busy. And yeah, so don't hesitate because, the longer you wait, then the more our schedules get backed up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we want to see you and tell you about your new year.
Well, and what I love is I hear this, I'm sure you hear it too, is I will say something and then they'll go to you and it'll be in their chart and they'll be like, Renee just said that, or vice versa. Deb
Absolutely.
just told me that.
Yep.
Yes.
It
It's
happens
super cool.
almost every time. Yeah.
Almost every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will talk astrology again in March. Oh my gosh, here we go.
Yeah.
2024, here we
Woo,
come.
button up.
So, all right. Thanks, Deb. We'll see everybody later.
Happy New Year.